when they lose weight, they usually lose some muscle mass. So we talk a lot about how are we going to maintain that muscle mass going forward, because when your muscle mass goes down, your RMR goes down. Calorie needs are probably going to be increased for the athlete, just because you want to make sure that you're eating enough to actually fuel your performance. So if you're dieting and you're eating 1,000 calorie deficit and you try to go to the open and expend a ton of energy, you're probably not going to have the best performance.
Welcome back to Fitter Every Day, the show where we deconstruct fitness into bite-sized bits to help make you fitter every day. We are here with Jordan Miller, who is the general manager of Huxley Fit Club, also is a master's in professional practice in dietetics and a registered dietitian. So welcome, Jordan Miller. We are going to be getting into a little bit more fun stuff with dietetics, because there is a concept that always happens, or a situation that always happens, that I guarantee everyone who has done a diet has fallen into. Two people start. It's a husband and a wife. Both of them are, let's say 40 pounds higher than they want to be. And they start with a nutrition plan, or they start an exercise plan. The guy starts losing weight at a much faster rate, much more successfully, is very happy with how the weight is going. The woman has nothing happen. They're doing the exact same thing. Why is it so hard for people to lose weight, specifically women?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? Well, so men usually have more muscle mass, unfortunately. So
we're trying to change that.
Hey, so muscle mass is a big key player in metabolism. So if you have more muscle, the more calories you're going to burn naturally. So that's one big difference. More muscle, going to burn more calories. Two, women, we just have different hormones. Our hormones work differently than men. So a lot of times when girls come in to lose weight, I really tell them like, hey, if you're at the age of like childbearing years, we want to make sure that you're not dipping too low with your fat percentage, because then you might not be able to conceive a child, like because your fat is too low. So our body kind of fights that in a way, unfortunately, but for good reasons to have kids, you know? So those are two of the biggest things that I would say. We're obviously two different genders. Our bodies work a lot differently. So yeah.
What do you say to that woman when she is getting frustrated? Like that person, because I would imagine, you know, friends of mine, I have a couple pairs of friends that are doing the same thing and having this exact same thing occur. What do you say to the woman when she is incurring those frustrations that it's not working? Like, why is this jerk losing weight and I'm not? Like, how do you deal with the frustration part? Not necessarily just the actual like nuts and bolts of it happening.
I mean, it's just don't throw in the towel. A lot of people think that one big mistake or one bad weekend is going to be just going to screw up all of their progress. So just staying consistent. You know, there's a lot of ways that you can play with what you're doing. So maybe we need to increase your steps or tweak little things here and there, but just overall staying consistent and knowing that your body is completely different than your husband's. Unfortunately, my husband's 6'2" and he can eat 3,000 calories. Sorry. But yeah, so we're built completely different. He could eat crap all day long and stay tall and skinny. Not the case for me. So just learning that and just being okay with being different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another kind of second level frustration on this is a lot of times people will assume that it's easy to lose weight. You know, I just got to put the effort into it. And I say lose weight. That's not necessarily specifically the only goal for someone, because there are other people that are trying to gain weight or trying to transform into muscle mass. And they go, well, it's whether it's New Year's or I'm turning 40 next year. I'm going to start doing this thing. And they say, okay, if I just put a little bit of energy and effort into doing this thing, it's just calories in, calories out. It's, you know, I just got to make sure that I'll watch what I eat, whatever. It's not that simple.
No.
Why is it not that simple?
Well, our body likes homeostasis and it likes...
What is homeostasis?
It's just being level on each side. So if your body lose 50 pounds, your body's going to try to gain that 50 pounds back, like keeping it level, equal on each side. If that makes sense. So when we lose weight, our body's like, what the heck? What are we doing? Because it can't determine the difference between this is a diet or we're starving. So it has all these different functions to maintain that weight. So hormones start kicking in, fighting back, making you think that you're hungrier when you're dieting than you normally would at your beginning weight. So just all these things fight against weight loss to try to keep you where you're at, unfortunately. So it's getting to that plateau and then tweaking things here and there, whether that's going into reverse calorie cycling or
what
increasing.
Is that?
So reverse calorie cycling, I think we should back up a little bit. So usually you have your total daily energy expenditure. So TDEE.
Okay.
That is kind of your energy output. So if you have that.
That scale.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if it's even, you have energy in, which is what you eat, and then energy out. If you're expending that many calories out, then you're going to maintain your body weight.
Okay.
If you're eating more calories and expending less, then you're going to gain weight. Vice versa, if you're eating less and expending more, you're going to lose weight. Simply said.
Yeah.
Doesn't work that way. Exactly. Calories in, what you eat. Calories out. There's 4 different components to that. So you have your RMR, which is your resting metabolic rate.
Okay. And that's just the what it takes if you were to lay on the couch for 24 consecutive hours. What does it take for you to not die? That's RMR,
exactly.
Resting metabolic rate.
Yep. What your body needs to do to survive. So that's RMR. That takes about 70% of your total daily energy expenditure.
Yeah. 70% of your calories are just not dying. Like literally, that's just what your body needs to not die.
Yep. Exactly. So huge chunk there. And then you have your thermic effect of food. So that's basically if I eat this carrot, I'm going to burn calories just digesting it and chewing it. Pretty cool. So different foods have higher thermic effects of food. So.
And that's why you can have like celery is like a negative thermic effect.
Yeah.
Yep. It's fun.
Yeah. After thermic effect of food, you have NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis.
Okay.
That is a long word, basically meaning what you do just out of habit. So if I'm a big fidgeter, I'm going to have a higher NEAT. If I walk a lot in my job, I'm going to have a higher NEAT. So that is actually a pretty big percentage too. That's about 15% of your TDEE. And then lastly, it's a smaller percentage than people think, but that's your actual exercise. So what you do in the gym, or if you go for runs or whatever that may be, that deliberate exercise set apart in your day, that's only about 5%.
Okay.
So all of those things contribute to that exercise, the output there.
And so one other thing that's interesting about that, a lot of times people will misconstrue, I'm going to go run more or I'm going to go do more cardio, because then they think that like that just the specific exercise of doing, I'm going to go for a 2-mile run and it's going to take me 30 minutes or whatever it is. And then that 30 minutes is going to be the thing that is the most beneficial. It's the most bang for your buck as far as getting myself to burn more calories or burn more of the energy that my body actually needs. And they won't do any weightlifting. Well, the thing is the percentages on those you just mentioned, it's like 5% is the actual exercise itself. The base metabolic rate or the resting metabolic rate, which is the just how to not die. And then the non-exercise energy expenditure, your NEAT. Those two things, I'm a 230-pound dude. You're not.
No.
I have a higher, it takes more energy for me to exist than it is for you to exist.
Yeah.
So if I lift weights and build a greater muscle mass, that's where the actual bang for your buck is. So for a lot of those people that go, I'm just going to go for a run, or I don't want to get too bulky or whatever, that's actually the thing that's going to help you transform yourself faster, is building muscle mass to build those other things up.
Yes, exactly.
So back to what we were saying. So that's the calories out part is air quotes, the calories out is your net energy expenditure.
Yeah. And touching back on your RMR, your resting metabolic rate, you kind of touched on it. With that is a big part based off of muscle mass. So when people come in and we do their initial measurements and whatnot, they usually, when they lose weight, they usually lose some muscle mass. So we talk a lot about how are we going to maintain that muscle mass going forward? Because when your muscle mass goes down, your RMR goes down. So that's another thing that's kind of fighting against when you're losing weight initially. Your muscle mass unfortunately goes down a little bit too. So making sure you're eating to maintain that muscle and lift weights and not just go for 30-minute runs every day.
Yeah. So we've got the fact that we have stuff that we burn. We use energy during the day. So if I want to lose weight, I just eat less than whatever this is, right?
Technically, yes. Yes. It gets hard because you eventually hit that plateau. So that's where I talked about that calorie cycling a little bit ago. So when people usually hit that plateau, that's when they start getting frustrated and they, throw in the towel. They're like, I'm not losing any more weight. I'm still 10 pounds off of my goal weight. That's when we talk about going back up to that maintenance level. So if you take that total daily energy expenditure, let's say yours is a total of, you're a big guy, 2,500 calories. I don't know.
I think mine's like 2,650 is
it's
last I calorie.
Yeah.
It's great
I
being a
wish.
230-pound guy sometimes.
Yeah, 4'11" girl.
Not for finding
bad,
pants, but it's great. But yeah, being a 4'11" woman, that's a little bit different.
4'11 and a half, but
almost 5.
Almost. I'll get there. Anyway, so you being a big dude, you're probably not looking to lose weight.
Like 5-7 pounds maybe.
Okay, so if you were like, I just want to maintain and stay where I'm at, I would have you try to eat around that total daily energy expenditure. So your resting or your maintenance calories. To kind of lose a little bit more of that weight, we would go down a little bit in calories. And that number kind of differs person to person. So I wouldn't have you go from 2,500 down to 1,800 calories. I don't usually make that many jumps either. That's where a lot of people get into trouble, is where they make too big of jumps.
And why is that?
That's when those your body's survival mechanisms, that's when if you start eating 500 calories less a day or 600, 800, whatever it is, that's a pretty big chunk of calories. Then your body goes into like, what the heck is happening? And just starts, keeping everything as fat because it's like, what am I going to eat next? So taking smaller jumps, maybe cutting 300 calories, little jumps over throughout the week and seeing how that goes. Yeah.
There's one of the things that I really like, and this is from an exercise perspective, and this sort of ties into the dietary expenditures part, is the human body, or just biology generally, like whether it's a wolf or a bird or a person, but I'm just going to go persons because our brains are better, is humans are the most hyper efficient machines on all, like the human body is the most hyper efficient machine in the history of engineering. And what it's really good at and what it is efficient at is staying where it's at and staying alive. And so when something changes, it's got an automatic feedback cycle that this thing needs to go the other direction, where I have gone without food. I signal the fact that I am hungry. I eat food. I need to stay here. I don't want to be too big. Then I tell myself when I'm full. And those automatic feedback mechanisms just exist. So when you go to crash that, and I go from 2,500 to 1,500, your body is kicking in the fact that we may never eat again. And if we never eat again, to not die, I need to make sure that I keep this in reserves. And so you have this huge crash diet that really does a counter-effective thing that you want to go